Recording in progress.
Hare Krishna. Mat Jai Radha Madhav Kirtan ko start chestunna. Jai Radha Madhava Jai Bihari Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Jai Bihari Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Givaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Prabhuji Mataji Dhanat Pranama. So how is your day? Hare Krishna Srinivas Prabhu, Hare Krishna Praveen.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Dhanat Pranam Prabhu, Hare Krishna Kitchen Prabhu, Hare Krishna Giras Prabhu, Hare Krishna Shilpa Mataji, Hare Krishna Karamataji.
Hare Krishna.
So we'll just continue on, go to prayers.
Okay.
Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuromilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Deham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Yevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो महावधन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रे। नमो ब्रह्मण्याय देवाय गो ब्रह्मण्याय हिताय च जगद्हिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। करोति वाचनं पंगम लगायत गिरम यत् कृपा तमाहं वंदे परमात्मा। श्री गुरु दीनदारणं परमानंद माधव श्री चैतन्य ईश्वर ओम पवित्र पवित्र वाचा सब यस्मरणेन पुनरीकाक्षो संभूय। श्री विष्णु श्री विष्णु। So we go into the class. Hare Krishna. So where are we in the class? Till where did we study? Till which chapter have we done? Anybody give a little briefing of what we have completed so far? Anybody? The Canto 5. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We are in Canto 5. Canto 5 is the creative impetus. So creative. So in this canto, we have seen up to the third chapter, right? In the third chapter, first one is the story of Priyamvarta, and then the Agnidurangi story, and Nabhi performing yajna to get a son, right? So this particular canto has like 26 chapters, and out of the 26, the first chapter is about the Priyamvrata. The Priyamvrata chapter, we've seen the Priyamvrata story where Priyamvrata is engaged in. Anybody who know can talk a little bit about Priyamvrata? Hare Krishna, anybody there at all? I know I can't see any faces.
Yeah, there, Prabhu. Yeah.
So Priyamvrata was uh, living like a sannyasi, like a brahmachari, and he doesn't want to get married. But then there is nobody to take care of the kingdom. So as there is nobody to take care of the kingdom, he was requested by Brahma himself, to come back and take care of household activity and take care of the Swayambhu Manu calls him and tells him, like, Swayambhu Manu is son of Brahma, and both of them comes and tells Priyamvrata, please take care of the kingdom. There's no king, basically. So for you to become a king, which means you have to get married. So here a few things we have observed in the classes, basically. Somebody who is already fixated his mind on the Lord, and is meditating on the Lord for moksha, as a sannyasi, he was given the responsibility to take care of the kingdom. To take care of the kingdom means you have to get married. So though whether he's interested on the responsibility or not is a secondary task, but just because he was instructed by Brahma himself, saying that even Lord Vishnu wants you to take care of the kingdom. So what does that mean? Take care of the kingdom means to take care of the kingdom and take care of the people. And what does taking care of people means? Taking care of people, making sure the people go in the path of dharma. Right? But Priyamvrata coming from sannyasashram into grihasthashram. So what does that happen? How does that happen? Once you have fixated your mind on the Lord, you can do anything as a responsibility without getting attached to the activity. So that way, Priyamvrata takes care of the kingdom without actually getting attached to the materialistic aspects of the kingdom, the materialistic aspects, comforts of the life. So his son Agnidhara becomes his first son Agnidhara becomes the king. Then Agnidhara, we have seen the story of Agnidhara interacting with this lady, what's her name? Purvachiti. So Agnidhara again, he goes to Tapash, and then Brahma sends this lady Purvachiti. Then he gets a little bit of attracted by her, and then he marries her, and then he gives a child, he gives son, he has a lot of children, and then the first child is Nabhi, and Nabhi becomes the king, and that's where we are in third chapter, where Nabhi, along with his wife, Miru Devi, Nabhi along with his wife Miru Devi, goes and what do you call it? Prays to Lord, um, for getting a child, for getting the Lord himself as the child. So we have seen those 1 to 15 shlokas where Nabhi, along with his wife, performs the yajna, of which the Lord himself appears in the Yajna Kund. And the Lord himself, Mahavishnu, appears in his four-armed form. He is pleased with the yajna of what Nabhi and his wife have performed for a desire of getting a child. What's the like a child? But they don't want anybody else but the Lord himself as their child. Right? That's where we saw in Shloka 16, basically. Let's quickly go to the Shloka 16. So, the purpose of those shlokas. So, Shloka 15, we have seen, oh Lord, you perform many wonderful. These are the things once Lord has appeared. So the Lord appears in one of the shlokas. Which shloka? In the beginning of the chapter, himself the Lord appears. The Lord Vishnu appeared before King Nabhi with four arms. He was very bright, and he appeared to be the best of all personalities. Around the lower portion of his body, he wore yellow silken garment. On his chest, there was a mark of Srivatsa. which always display beauty. He carried
Can
a
I use my
constant.
hand axe this time?
Sorry, Amma.
Mm.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh yeah, I'm muted. Sorry.
Yeah.
Somebody. He was beautifully decorated with a helmet, earrings, bangles, belt. So it's all describing the appearance of the Lord himself. Then the priest offered praise to Lord. Again, the priest offers praise to Lord, saying, "O Lord, we have worshipped, or we have requested, we have then performed the whole yajna so that Nabhi and Mirudevi will have a son like you." Here, two aspects. One, wanting to have a son. So the priests themselves feel bad that they have requested or they have prayed to the Lord for a materialistic desire of having a son. Having a son is considered or seen as a materialistic desire. So they are asking the Lord forgiveness, basically. Oh Lord, O worshipable one, we are simply your servants. Although you are full of yourself, please, out of your causeless mercy, accept a little service from us, your eternal servants. We are not actually aware of your transcendental form, but we can simply offer you our respectful obeisances again and again, and as instructed by Vedic literature and authorized acharyas. Materialistic living entities are very much attracted to the modes of material nature, and therefore they are never perfect, but you are above the jurisdiction of all the material conception. Your name, form, and qualities are all transcendental and beyond the conception of experimental knowledge. Indeed, who can conceive of you? In the material world, we can perceive only material names and qualities. We have no we have no power, no other power to offer you our respectful obeisances and prayers unto you, the transcendental person. The chanting of your auspicious transcendental qualities will wipe out the sins of all mankind. That's the most auspicious activity for us, and we can thus partially understand your supernatural position. So again, if you go sloka by sloka, you will see where the Brahmanas are asking the Lord forgiveness for they have invoked him for materialistic desire. But because of your causeless mercy, you only have the power to to forgive us, though we acted for a materialistic desire. Here, this is something we should all observe. See, the point is there are two aspects. Worshipping the Lord is one aspect. Worshipping the Lord for materialistic desire is another aspect. But bottom line is worshipping is more important. In the process, even if you are worshipping him for a materialistic desire, in this case, the materialistic desire is to have a son, but the spiritual aspect of that materialistic desire is to have a son. The Lord himself has their son. So what does that mean? Whenever you ask Lord something, he always gives it to you. Even if it is a materialistic desire, even if it is for a materialistic purpose, but you have to ask the Lord himself. So when you ask the Lord himself something that is useful for materialistic purpose, the Lord will make sure that whatever has been granted to you will ultimately take you towards the path of spirituality, towards the path of what the God wants. So we see in Bhagavad Gita where the Lord talks about when you worship devatas, you get what you want. But when you worship devatas, you are actually indirectly worshipping me for I'm the one who grant them what they should grant you. In the sense, there are two things here again. Worshipping devatas for what you want, worshipping the Lord for what you want, even though that is a materialistic thing. So what happens is when you worship devatas for a materialistic thing, you will be fulfilled of that materialistic act, but there is no transcendental nature to the materialistic boon that you are receiving. You could ask for a car, you can ask for a nice job, you could ask for more bank balance, you could ask for a nice child, even to devatas. But what happens is all that will be given to you. You can ask for good health, all that will be given to you. But after you receive that benediction, you might not have the desire to use that fruitful activity in the service of Lord. But when you desire, when your prayers are to the Lord for the same desire, your service will be fulfilled. Your service will be fulfilled. Your desire will be fulfilled. But Lord also makes sure that that will be useful in your spiritual path. Right? So that's the fundamental difference. So there are two things we talked about. One, asking devatas versus asking Lord. Then the second aspect is asking Lord for materialistic versus spiritual things. So this whole chapter or the whole canto is about different devotees. In fact, all this canto is about grihasthas. We started with the first chapter with the Priyamvrata, how he became from sannyasi to grihastha. And in the second chapter, we have seen how Agnidhar became attracted by Purvachitta, and then came into what do you call it? Attracted to Purvachitta and then got sons. And here you are seeing a person, Nabi, how he's looking for the same thing, having a son. See, again, you see how each person has a different way of carrying the dynasty or carrying the leader for the kingdom. Nabi here is asking for nothing less than the Lord himself as his son. Then from Nabi, Nabi, Rishabhadeva is born. From Rishabhadeva, Bharata is born. From Bharata, then from there you'll see the Bharata story, how it becomes how he becomes the deer and how he gets to the Jada Bharata aspect. So, few things here. The things that we should be wary about are pray to the Lord. It doesn't matter how, or it doesn't matter for what. It will ultimately. So once Nabi prayed to the Lord, and Rishabhadeva was born, and because of his love to his son, he loved his son so much, and Rishabhadeva is the son that he's loving, and Rishabhadeva is none other than the Lord himself. And he actually started loving the Lord. He actually started loving the Lord, not in the form of Lord, but in the form of his son. But he was loving the Lord, basically. See what happens? So when you are loving the Lord, it doesn't matter whether he is in whichever form he is. So a materialistic desire has become a a materialistic desire that gave him spiritual fruits. So with that, he would go back into spiritual world. So we have seen different people in this canto, how because of their desire go different places. Nabi's father, Agnidhara, goes to Pitrulokas. That's his desire. He still could not leave the desire about his wife. So wherever she went, he would go there, and she would go to Pitrulokas, and he would go to Pitrulokas. And Priyamvrata, who started as a sannyasi, becomes a grahastha, and then he attains moksha. Agnidhara, who started as a devotee's son, and then he goes to Pitruloka, whereas Nabi goes directly to Goloka because of his love to his son. So that's what this chapter is a little bit about. And then you see Rishabhadeva, how he sets the whole thing back to I wouldn't say normal. He rules the world in a way that he regulates everybody to go to spiritual path, and then you'll see Bharata story basically. We did the text 15 last class. Let's start with the text 16. Sukadeva Goswami said, the priests who were even worshipped by King Nabi, the emperor of Bharatavarsha, offered prayers in prose. Generally, they were poetry, and bowed down to the Lord. The Lord of the Lords, the ruler of demigods, was very pleased with them, and he began to speak as follows. Let's see there's a purport here. So there's no purport, and then we'll see from text 17 from where the Lord speaks basically. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, O great sages, I'm certainly very pleased with your prayers. You are all truthful. You have prayed for the benediction of a son like me for King Nabi, but this is very difficult to obtain. Since I am the supreme person without a second, and since no one is equal to me, another personality like me is not possible to find. In any case, because you are all qualified Brahmanas, your vibrations should not prove untrue. I consider the Brahmanas who are well qualified with Brahminical qualities to be as good as my own mouth. Ah, beautiful. So Lord is clearly saying here the power of the true Brahmanas, because you are such kind of Brahmanas you have invoked, and you are asking for a benediction, a son like me to Navi. But it is difficult because there is no second of self, there is no cloning of me. But there's nothing equal to me. There's no other personality like me. It's not possible to find. But because you are such qualified Brahmanas, you are as good as my own mouth. So you have performed rituals in such reverence, that as if they have been done by myself basically. So I have to some way or other fulfill your desire. Though that is not possible, that can be made possible. That's the power of God. Right? That's why we call it Supreme Personality of God. He says there is nothing said, there is nobody second, there's no second person like me. But your power, your devotional power, your yajna power has forcing me to one way or other fulfill this desire of Nabi, fulfill your desire for your Lord, your King Nabi, and then I will have to figure out a way how I should be born, basically, how I should come as a son. Right? Let's see. Prabhupada purport here. If somebody wants to read the purport,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Giras Prabhu,
Subbarao Prabhuji Gachibowli. Sorry, I was away when you were asking question.
Yeah, sorry.
I couldn't answer about the Priyavata's brief intro.
But I hope I did not say anything wrong there, Prabhu.
You are right. Thank you very much. Let me read Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada purport ki jai. The word avitata girbihi means they whose spoken vibrations cannot be nullified. The Brahmanas, Dvija, the twice born, are given a chance by the Shastric regulations to become almost as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Whatever a Brahmana speaks cannot be nullified or changed in any circumstance. According to the Vedic injunctions, a Brahmana is the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, in all rituals, a Brahmana is offered food, Brahmana Bhojana. Because when a Brahmana eats, it is considered that the Supreme Lord himself eats. Similarly, whatever Brahmana speaks cannot be changed. It must act. The learned sages who were priests at Maharaja Nabi's sacrifice were not only Brahmanas but were so qualified that they were like devas, demigods, or God himself. If this were not the case, how could they invite Lord Vishnu to come to the sacrificial arena? God is one, and God does not belong to this or that religion. In Kali Yuga, different religious sects consider their God to be different from the God of others, but that is not possible. God is one and is appreciated according to different angles of vision. In this verse, the word Kaivalyat means that God has no competitor. There is only one God. In the Svetasvatara Upanishad 6.8, it is said, కొంచెం scroll on it is said, Natat drishyate. Natat samaschabhyadikascha drishyate. No one is found to be equal to him or greater than him. That is a definition of God. So there is Asamaurdhva and Gudin Prabhuji. There is one more word. Asamaurdhva. No one is, Urdhva means greater. Asama means equal. Nobody is equal and nobody is greater than Supreme Lord. So his position is always perfect. Nobody cross that. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So two to three different aspects from this purport. Here Prabhupada explains to us the power of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that has to be established, right? That has to be established. And then the power of Brahmanas. Brahmana, when offered to, therefore, in all rituals, Brahmana is offered food, Brahmana Bhojana. It is as good as offering to the personality of Supreme Personality of Godhead. When you see, that's the reason why we have to be so careful with the Brahmanas. If some bad thing comes from their mouth, and our life is done, basically. So they are considered, so what do you call it? Twice born, Dvija, basically. So nobody is Brahmana by birth, but once you realized that that God consciousness, then you are accepted by a guru, then you are born again, and then that's when you become a Suddha Vaishnava, Suddha Brahmana or Vaishnava. Then that person is as good as the personality of Godhead himself. And then here Prabhupada also says, so what that Godhead means. There is nothing similar to him, basically. He is the Supreme Personality. There is no second thing. There's no comparison to him. But a pure devotee, a Brahmana, he is as good as him. So here, then who is saying these words? Who is saying this shloka? Basically, the Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, "Oh, great sages, I'm certainly very pleased with your prayers. You are all truthful. You have prayed for the benedictions of a son like me for King Nabi, but this is very difficult to obtain since I am the Supreme Person without a second, and since no one is equal to me, another personality like me is not possible to find. But in any case, because you are all qualified Brahmanas, your vibration should not prove untrue. I consider the Brahmanas who are well qualified with Brahminical qualities to be as good as my own mouth." So if you look at the whole Krishna conscious movement, probably you can take it all from this one shloka. Understanding Krishna, understanding Bhagavatam is one thing, but being able to assimilate it and start practicing, and that's what the movement gives you. So what is the movement trying to do to anybody? Is trying to make you a person like this Brahmana that the Lord is praising. If you get to that Suddha Sattva Guna, so in the previous sloka process we have seen, where the Brahmanas are praying God, saying, "You are the one who are beyond the modes of three modes." So the Lord is saying, you are nothing less but almost equal to that. And that's what the movement is trying to make all of us. Teach us what the God is, not just to teach us what the God means, but give us a procedure how to reach to that state. Right? That's the gift Prabhupada has given to us. So there are so many organizations that explain what Vedas are doing, Vedas are telling. But there are only few organizations that can actually tell you how to live to the life that Vedas are explaining. How to lead the life. And that's what these 4 or 5 chapters are showing us with different examples of how these people have attained moksha, and they're all grihasthas. Right? So, having said that, let's try to get to the next sloka. Since I cannot find anyone equal to me, I shall personally expand myself into a plenary portion and thus advent myself in the womb of Meru Devi, the wife of Maharaj Nabhi, the son of Agnidhara. So the Lord said, I cannot say no to what you are saying, but what you are asking is not possible because there is no second person. But at the same time, because I cannot say no to it, I will have to make it work one way or other. I shall personally expand myself into a plenary portion and thus advent myself in the womb of Meru Devi. So Lord is ready to do anything above anything to please the devotees who have called him or asked him or prayed him with that sincerity. Though it's a materialistic desire. but the desire has a sincere effort to the Supreme Personality. And that Supreme Personality with his transcendental nature can do anything. In this example of the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he is one without a second, he expands himself by swamsa, his personal expansion, and sometimes by vibhinamsa, or his separated expansion. Lord Vishnu herein agrees to send his personal expansion as the son of Meru Devi, the wife of Maharaj Nabhi, who is the son of Agnidhara. The Ritvija, the priest, knew that the God is one, yet they prayed for the Supreme Lord to become the son of Maharaj Nabhi, to let the world know that the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is one without a second. When he incarnates, he expands himself in different potencies. So again, here Prabhupada is explaining as so there is no two gods, there are no two gods, there is no two gods, there is only one God that expands in different forms. And he does it only for the sake of his devotees. He does that only because as his devotees have asked for it. Right? Hare Krishna Prabhu, shall we go to the next shloka?
Yes, Prabhu.
19th shloka. Sukadeva Goswami continued, after saying this, the Lord disappeared. The wife of King Nabhi, Queen Meru Devi, was sitting by the side of her husband, and consequently, she could hear everything the Supreme Lord had spoken. According to Vedic, then this purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. According to Vedic injunctions, one should perform sacrifices in the company of one's own wife. Saptaniko dharmam acharat. Religious rituals should be performed with one's wife. Therefore, Maharaj Nabhi conducted his great sacrifice with his wife by his side. Again, Prabhu and Mataji, these chapters should tell us how a grihastha can follow. Grihastha means there is a lot of materialistic attachment to grihastha life. But once you have fixated your mind on Supreme Personality of Godhead, even being grihastha, you should be able to follow all the things, perform all the responsibilities without any attachment. Performing responsibilities without any attachment. These obstacles that they appear as obstacles cannot obstruct our relationship with God. That is what, again, so that's what for us, Nabhi story is showing us. He is able to lead like a materialistic person, a Kshatriya, with a Brahmanic thought of what do you call so he's called most of the further shlokas we'll see him being called as Rajarishi, because a Kshatriya lived with a Brahmanical thought. Living with a Brahmanical thought means constantly living with that 24/7 connection with the Supreme Personality of God, while still performing all your materialistic duties with attachment to the God and without any attachment to the materialistic world. Once you have attachment to the God, our attachment to the materialistic world is of no importance or no significance anymore. What does that mean? Our attachment to materialistic world normally puts us in one of the three modes: Rajoguna, Tamoguna, or Satoguna. But if we are performing same activities with an attachment to the Supreme Personality of God, due to his transcendental nature, you'll always be in Suddha Sattva Guna, which means the three other gunas becomes insignificant, though it appears as if we are in those gunas. It appears for others that we are in those gunas, but because of our constant communication, a constant connection with the Supreme Personality of the God, that we are able to maintain a Suddha Sattva Guna with the transcendental power. The rest is all minuscule, or something that's of not important. So when we come to this 20th sloka, O Vishnu Datta, Parikshit Maharaja, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was pleased by the great sages at that sacrifice. Consequently, the Lord decided to personally exhibit the method of executing religious principles as observed by brahmacharis, sannyasis, vanaprasthas, and grihasthas engaged in rituals and also satisfy Maharaj Nabhi's desire. Consequently, he appeared as the son of Meru Devi in his original spiritual form, which is above the modes of material nature. So that's the fundamental difference, right? The God is beyond the modes of material nature. Anything in this materialistic world has one or other affiliation to one or other mode of material nature. It's called the mode of material nature, because anything in material nature gets attached to one of the three modes. But Nabi, with his team of Brahmanas, with his respect for the Brahmanas, he gave them the utmost honor, and with that, they were able to invoke or call God himself and please the Supreme Personality Godhead to a point where he has decided to walk or come in life into their lives, so as the son of Nabi. Prabhuji and Mataji's, if it is of not that high significance, but we are going through a similar thing that's happening in this next few days, right? We are seeing a similar form of a place where God has expressed, or God has come in one of his forms as being recognized and worshipped by the king or by the ruler of the country. Invoking, calling all the Brahmanas and making that most celebratory event and taking us, this is the opportunity we should help ourselves to go a little bit out of that modes of material nature and get the transcendental relationship. If you look at it politically, a lot of people keep saying he's doing it for a political reason. But here the Bhagavatam is saying it doesn't matter even if you're doing for a materialistic reason, as long as you're doing it for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We'll see a lot of people, we see at this junction in the next 3-4 days, you are going to see a lot of people celebrating this event of Ram Janma, Ram Pratishtha again, Ram Pran Pratishtha again at Ram Janmabhoomi. And you might see, oh, that person is doing it because for popularity sake, or that person is doing for so and so sake, this person is doing for so and so sake. But still, as long as it is for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it will be God himself takes the responsibility of making sure our participation becomes transcendental. Right? Here in this shloka, Parikshit Sukadeva Goswami is now talking to Parikshit Maharaj and saying, this is what is happening. Right? Hare Krishna, will somebody help me read through this first paragraph? Of the paragraph?
I will read, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji Dandat Pranama Charanam.
Perfect. When the Supreme Lord appears descends as an incarnation within the material world, he does not accept a body made of the three modes of material nature, Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. Mayavadi philosophers say that the impersonal God appears in this material world by accepting a body in the Sattva Guna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti states that the word Sukla means consisting of Suddha Sattva. Lord Vishnu descends in his Suddha Sattva form. Suddha Sattva refers to the Sattva Guna, which is never contaminated. In this material world, even the mode of goodness, Sattva Guna, is contaminated by tinges of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. When Sattva Guna is never contaminated by Rajoguna and Tamoguna, it is called Suddha Sattva. Sattvam Visuddham Vasudeva Sadditam. Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, 3rd chapter, 23 sloka. That is the platform of Vasudeva, whereby the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, can be experienced. In Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 7th sloka, Sri Krishna himself says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata apyuttanamadharmasya tadatmyanam srujamyaham.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Here, again, Sukadeva Goswami is now talking to Parikshit Maharaj and explaining him basically what it is when the Prabhupada's purport. When the Supreme Lord appears or descends as an incarnation within the materialistic world, he does not accept the body made of the three modes of material nature. So it doesn't matter. Wherever Lord is, however, in whichever form he is, he's beyond the three modes of material nature. But we when we are in materialistic world, the reason why we are in materialistic world is because you are in one of the three modes. You left your body in one of the three modes. You left your body in one of the three modes, and that is deciding how you are. That is giving you the desirability. The desire is fixing up in which mode you are in, and that is based on your desirability. You are taking that form to fulfill that particular mode, basically. In Kali Yuga, they say there is no Sattva Guna at all. There is only Tamo, Rajo, and the combination of Tamo and Rajo, basically. Here again, Prabhupada explains, because of Tamo Guna, Rajo Guna, Sattva Guna is not becoming Suddha Sattva Guna. But when you take away the Tazo aspect or the Rajo aspect from the Sattva Guna, or the tinges of them, or the influence of those on Sattva Guna, then Sattva Guna automatically gets you into Suddha Sattva Guna. So in this materialist world, even the mode of goodness, Sattva-guna, is contaminated by tinges of Rajoguna and Tamoguna. When Sattva-guna is never contaminated by Rajoguna and Tamoguna, it is called Suddha Sattva-guna. So, right? Sattvam Visuddham Vasudeva Sadhitam. This is the platform of Vasudeva, whereby Supreme Personality of God, Vasudeva, can be experienced. When you get to that state, Visuddha Sattvam or Suddha Sattva Guna, only then you can experience the state of the Lord or the transcendental nature of the Lord. Okay, again, we are referring to Bhagavad Gita, Sloka 4.7. Yadaidahi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and the predominant rise of religion, at that time I descend myself. Then to clean these souls that are contaminated or that are attracted to Suddha Sattva, one of the three modes, only a Suddha Sattva has to come and clear it up. Only that can clear up our contamination. Unlike ordinary living entities, the Supreme Lord is not forced by the modes of material nature to appear. He appears. He appears. Dharman darsayat kama, to show how to execute the functions of human being. He comes only for that reason. Sometimes he comes in a form the way we are talking about in this sense, Rishabhadeva. Sometimes he comes as a court order to build a temple. But he comes only for that reason, to execute the functions of human being. He's coming here to show us how human being should function. And what is the function of human being? The dharma of human being is to take that opportunity, live in that movement, and get our connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and get rid of the materialistic body and the desire for this materialistic. The word dharma is meant for human beings and is never used in connection with being inferior to human beings such as animals. Unfortunately, without being guided by the Supreme Lord, human beings sometimes manufacture a process of dharma by concatenation. Actually, dharma cannot be made by man. The dharma cannot be made by man. So man can make a lot of laws, man can make a lot of rules, but the dharma under which human society has to live has to be made by the Lord himself. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. That's what Bhagavatam is saying in 6.3.9. Dharma is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as the law is given by the state government. Probably we think as humans we can make laws because we can make laws of that are necessary for your house, the laws that are necessary for your street, for your apartment complex. We think we can also make the laws that are necessary, or so-called dharmic laws. Man-made dharma has no meaning. Srimad Bhagavatam refers to man-made dharma as a Kaitava dharma, cheating religion. Anything, because man-made dharma is filled with three modes of material nature. And why is it called cheating? Anything that is not useful to reach the personality of Supreme Personality of Godhead, and any instruction that cannot help you reach the personality of Godhead, that's a cheating principle, cheating religion. The Supreme Lord sends an avatar incarnation to teach human society the proper way to execute religious principles. Such religious principles are Bhakti Marga. As the Supreme Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Saranam Raja. Just leave everything and just follow my instruction. The son of Maharaja, Nabi, Rishabhadeva, he appeared on this earth to preach the principles of this religion, that will be explained in the fifth chapter of the fifth canto. Hare Krishna. That does end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fifth canto, third chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Rishabhadeva's appearance in the womb of Virudevi, the wife of King Nabi. Hare Krishna. Prabhus and Matajis, I'm supposed to do a few more shlokas. We will do a few more shlokas from the next chapter. Before we go there, any questions? Anybody? All right. The characteristics of Rishabhadeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So I don't want to close without reading anything, few things in this chapter, because they're all characteristics of the Lord himself. So let's read up to 7th shloka is what I was told. So let's spend more time on the last two shlokas basically. So we'll read through the purports. We'll read through the translations for the first shlokas. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, as soon as the Lord was born as the son of Maharaj Nabi, he manifested symptoms of the Supreme Lord, such as marks on the bottom of his feet, the flag, thunderbolt, etc. This son was equal to everyone, and very peaceful. He could control his senses and his mind, and possessing all the opulences, he did not hanker for material enjoyment. Endowed with all these attributes, the son of Maharaj Nabi became more powerful day after day. Due to this, the citizens, learned Brahmanas, demigods, and ministers wanted Rishabhadeva to be appointed ruler of the world. So, the moment the Lord himself was born, the people are seeing the difference in the way the King Nabi is behaving. And people are able to see the difference in the way King Nabi's rule is bringing to the country, basically, to the Bharat Varsha, to the entire planetary system, basically. Because the Lord himself is available there. The Lord himself is there. The Lord with his purity, a man with no influence of any modes of material nature is there, and everybody are enjoying around him. Or even as a little kid, the joy that they are getting is beyond the modes of material nature. Right? So with that power, King Nabi is ruling, and the Brahmanas knows that the power is coming from the little child Rishabhadeva, and they were eager to see him as the king. We have seen something similar in Bhagavata stories, where because of the form of Lord, the people around them are behaving differently, and they do not know that they are dealing with the form of Lord themselves, Lord himself. Right? Does anybody remember any other story where this happens? Hare Krishna. So if you refer back to the Brahma Vimohana Leela, if you go back to the Brahma Vimohan Leela, where you see when Brahma takes away all the Gopabalas and all the Govus and Gopabalas, all the cows and the Gopalas, Lord himself expands into so many people, and Baladeva was surprised to see how all these Gopavanitas are serving their own children beyond with pure love. And these gopis do not know that that is the Lord's form that is sitting in front of them, and yet because it's the Lord form, because they're serving somebody in the Lord's form, they are automatically getting purified. See here, Nabi, so though he desired a materialistic desire, and the Lord himself has come, he is getting purified beyond his own capability, beyond his own desire of purification. Because he's established a relationship with something that is transcendental, to something that is beyond the three modes of material nature, but though that can be his own little son. When the son of Maharaj Nabi became visible, he evinced all good qualities described by the great poets, namely a well-built body with all the symptoms of Godhead, prowess, strength, beauty, name, fame, influence, and enthusiasm. When the father Maharaj Nabi saw all these qualities, he thought his son to be the best of human beings or the supreme being. Therefore, he gave him the name Rishabha. Indra, the king of heaven, who is very materially opulent, became envious of King Rishabhadeva. Consequently, he stopped pouring water on the planet known as Bharatavarsha. At that time, the Supreme Lord Rishabhadeva, the master of all mystic powers, understood King Indra's purpose and smiled a little. Then, by his own prowess through Yoga Maya, his internal potency, he profusely poured water upon his own place, which is known as uh, Ajanabha, which is known as Ajanabha. Right? Hare Krishna. So let's go to next shloka meaning also. Due to getting a perfect son according to his desire, King Nabi was always overwhelmed with the transcendental bliss and was very affectionate to his son. It was with ecstasy and flattering voice that he addressed him, "My dear son, my darling." This mentality was brought about by Yogamaya, whereby he accepted the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Father, and his own son. Out of his supreme God will, the Lord became his son and dealt with everyone as if he were an ordinary human being. Thus, King Nabi began to raise his transcendental son with great affection, and he was overwhelmed with the transcendental bliss, joy, and devotion. Hare Krishna. Here we talked about this word Yogamaya a few times in the past. Here you should understand. And Chaitanya Sharan Prabhu also recently in one of his sessions when he was doing in Gachibowli explained us this the concept of the relationship with God in Yoga Maya. Yoga means relation. Maya means something that is away from God or something that is not towards God is Maya. Yoga means relationship. So in Yogamaya, how Nabi attained moksha. So here Nabi is in relationship with God, but with the form of God that is not the God himself. That's the Maya aspect. Basically, he's not in relationship with the Supreme Personality of God, yet he is in relationship with the Supreme Personality of God. That is Yoga Maya. Otherwise, yoga means relation, Maya means away from God. So they can't go together. They can go only together, which means you are in yoga with the Supreme Personality of God, not really recognizing him as the Supreme Personality of God, or beyond a relationship of Bhakta and Bhagavan. Your relation with God, with a relationship that's beyond Bhakta and Bhagavan, that puts you in a Yoga Maya relation. That you see with Yasoda Maya, you see with Radharani, you see with all the Gopikas, you see with all the Gopalas. They love Krishna. They love Krishna not because he's Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he's their friend. It doesn't matter how you love Krishna. If you can love Krishna like the way Gopalas and Gopabalas loved him, or you can imagine Krishna as your own little child and you start loving him. And you love him because you imagine him as your little child and not he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. you still get the same equivalent benefit of worshipping him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That many Rajarshis did yajnas and yagas and came to that kind of relationship with God. So bottom line is the yoga aspect is more important with the God aspect, whichever form that God aspect is in. Right? So we'll go into the fifth shloka. King Nabi understood that his son Rishabhadeva was very popular among the citizens and among government officers and ministers. Understanding the popularity of his son, Maharaja Nabi enthroned him as the emperor of the world to give protection to the general populace in terms of Vedic religious system. To do this, he entrusted him into the hands of learned Brahmanas who would guide him in administering the government. Then Maharaj Nabi and his wife Mirudevi went to Badrika Ashrama in Himalayan mountains, where the king engaged himself very expertly in austerities and penance with great jubilation. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Naranarayan, who is Krishna, in his plenary expansion. By doing so, in course of time, Maharaj Nabi was elevated to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha. So again, now he understood that Rishabhadeva is what the people want him as the ruler of the country. So he decided to leave kingdom to his son. He enthroned him, and he and his wife went to Badrikashrama. Because he's a learned man, and because he now has the relationship with the Lord himself, he was able to fixate his mind, or the Lord helps him to fixate his mind on the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. And then he he was able to with ease perform the austerities that can put him closer to the God in a samadhi state, and took him to Vaikuntha Loka. Then the sixth and seventh slokas are two important slokas. Then where Sukadeva Goswami is talking to Parikshit Maharaj about the greatness of King Nabi. O Maharaj Parikshit, to glorify Maharaj Nabi, the old sages composed two verses. One of them is this: who can attain the perfection of Maharaj Nabi, who can attain his activities because of his devotional service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead agreed to become his own son. So these two slokas are the gist of what we have discussed so far. Here, the sloka himself, can somebody read the sloka? Kiras Prabhu, can you help read it? Right, otherwise I'll try to read. Yasyah Pandaveya sloka udaharanti unu tat karma rajarshi nabheran vacharet purman apatyatam gadyasya harisuddhena karmana. So, Suddhena Karmana, that's the word that is specifically used by Srila Prabhupada in his purport. The word Suddhena Karmana are significant in this verse. If work is not carried out in devotional service, it is contaminated by modes of material nature. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, I think there's a sloka 3.9. Yajnarat karmananyatra lokayam karma bandhana. Right? So, and that's what it's explained in Bhagavad Gita. Activities performed only for the satisfaction of Supreme Lord are pure and are not contaminated by the modes of material nature. All other activities are contaminated with modes of ignorance and passion, as well as goodness. All material activities meant for satisfying the senses are contaminated. And Maharaj Nabi did not perform anything contaminated. He simply executed his transcendental activities even when performing yajna. Consequently, he obtained the Supreme Lord as his son. Here, Suddhena Karmana means the karma that you perform, Suddha Karma. The karma that you are performing for only the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yajnardat karmano. Yajnardat karmano. Yajnardat. Here, why yajna means? Can somebody explain this? Yajnardat karmano. Anyatra lokayam karma bandhana.
అంటే యజ్ఞం కోసమే మన కర్మలు చేయాలని కదా ప్రభుజీ.
అమ్మా,
మన కర్మలన్నీ యజ్ఞం కోసమే చేయాలి.
మన కర్మలన్నీ యజ్ఞము కోసమే చెయ్యాలి. ఓకే, లేకపోతే
అవన్నీ కర్మ బంధనాలు అవుతాయి.
లేకపోతే
ఈ
కర్మ
లోకంలో
బంధన అయిపోతుంది.
యజ్ఞం కోసం చేయకుండా కర్మలు చేస్తే అవి మనల్ని ఈ లోకంలో బంధించేస్తాయి అని.
ఇంకా ఎనీబడి ఎల్స్?
ప్రభు తెలుగులో అనువాదం ఎలా ఉంది ప్రభు? శ్రీకృష్ణుని ప్రీత్యార్థము జన్మించిన కర్మలే విశుద్ధములు అని రాసింది.
అవును ప్రభు. బట్ మాధవి మాతాజీ చెప్తుంది చిన్న తేడా ఉంది కదా
అన్నమాట.
ఏమా మాధవి మాతాజీ చెప్పింది?
అవును ప్రభుజీ.
చిన్న తేడా ఉందా?
నాకు తెలియదు ప్రభుజీ, నాకు తెలిసింది చెప్పాను.
ఇంకా సో యజ్ఞార్థాత్ కర్మణ, యజ్ఞార్థాత్ కర్మణ,
భగవంతుడు ప్రీత్యర్థమే కర్మలు చేయాలని యజ్ఞం అంటే.
భగవంతుని ప్రీతి అర్థమే కర్మలు చేయాలి. ఓకే, సో మనకి శ్రీనివాస్ ప్రభు సేయింగ్ తెలుగు బుక్ లో అయితే కృష్ణుని ప్రీతి అర్థమే వనరించబడిన కర్మలే విశుద్ధము. సో ఇఫ్ యు లుక్ ఎట్ ద ఇంగ్లీష్ బుక్ ప్రభు, భగవద్గీత 3.9 in purport, yajnartha, the yajna is written in Y capital letter. Y capital letter means the yajna means God here. Yajnartha karmano. See, he is the one who is the అన్ని యజ్ఞాలకి పాత్రుడు భగవంతుడు. ఆ యజ్ఞం గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాం, యజ్ఞార్థ కర్మణం. So you are performing yajna for the Lord. The yajna is known here, the Lord himself. Yajnartha karmanam. You are performing karmas to please the one who is the sole owner of all the yajnas, who is the end beneficiary of all the yajnas. So you are performing, again, the word yajna is chosen to show Lord because karma is resulting in activity, and the end of that activity, the good activity or the yajna activity, is nothing but the Supreme Personality of Lord, Supreme Personality of God. If you do not do it for that karmano anyatra lokayam karma bandhana. If you do it for any other reason, it's making you karma bandhana. That is called suddhena karmana. That is how you suddhify, or you sanctify your karma by doing the karma only for Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nabi is such a person. That's the reason why the God himself came as his son. Oh Parikshit Maharaj, to glorify Maharaj Nabi, the old sages have composed 2 verses. One of them is this: who can attain the perfection of Maharaj Nabi, who can attain his activities because of his devotional services, the Supreme Personality of Godhead agreed to become his son. No other person. So Dena Karmana Nabi apatyayam agat yasya hari suddhena karmana. If he has not done anything other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that's the reason why Supreme Personality of Godhead became his son. So this is what the sages are praising Nabi, and that's what Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaja, that's the only thing that is there in life. Only thing that is there in life is do your karma for the God only. That is how you suddhena karmana. That's how you purify, sanctify your karmas. Right? So shall we go to the next sloka? So the next sloka, the second prayer is this: who is better worshipper of Brahmana than Maharaj Nabi? Because he worshipped the qualified Brahmanas to their full satisfaction. The Brahmanas, by their Brahminical power, shown Maharaj Nabi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana in person. So nobody else can worship Nabi better. I mean, nobody else worshipped Brahmanas better than Nabi did it. Nobody else worshipped Vaishnavas better than Nabi was able to do it. Because he worshipped qualified Brahmanas, Vaishnavas basically, to their full satisfaction. The Brahmanas, by their Brahminical powers, showed Maharaj Nabi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They were able to bring the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Maharaj Nabi because they were pleased by his surrender to them. He surrendered to them, recognizing that they are the Vaishnavas. They are the Vaishnavas. They are the only ones. They are the people who can link him to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only because of that, he worshipped them, and to a point, he worshipped them to a point. Brahmanas were able to, with their powers, bring the Supreme Personality of Godhead to by their Brahminical powers, showed Maharaj Nabi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana in human form, in person. They brought Narayana in person form to satisfy this person who is satisfying them. Because he is satisfying them, recognizing that they are the messengers, they are the people who can connect him to the God, and with that power, these people have engaged themselves in bringing the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Nabi. We will read through Srila Prabhupada purport and then we'll stop with this class. The Brahmanas engaged as priests in sacrificial ceremony were not ordinary Brahmanas. They were so powerful that they could bring forth the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their prayers. As Maharaj Nabi was able to see the Lord face to face. Unless one is a Vaishnava, he cannot call for simple personality of the God. The Lord does not accept an invitation unless it is does not accept an invitation unless one is a Vaishnava. Therefore, it is said in Padma Purana, Shatkarma Nipuno Vipro Mantra Tantra Visarada Avaishnavo Gurunasyat Vaishnava Swapacho Guru. A scholarly Brahmana, expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge, is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava. But a person born in a family of lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava. These Brahmanas were certainly very expert in chanting the Vedic mantras. They were competent in the performance of Vedic rituals, and over and above, they were all Vaishnavas. Therefore, by the spiritual powers, they could call on to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and enable their disciple Maharaj Nabi to see the Lord face to face. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commented the word Vajasa means by dint of devotional service. Dint of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga Muche. So see, when you see Prabhupada's purport, do you see anything different in ISKCON other than what is written here? This is what he is trying to do. He is trying to make anybody born wherever he is born, doesn't matter. He wants all of us to be Vaishnavas. Anybody understand the two things ISKCON is doing? One is telling the whole world. One is telling the whole world who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Second, it is telling the whole world how to practice a process to get to that Supreme Personality of God. That's the two. One is Bhagavad Gita, the other is Bhagavad. If Bhagavad Gita tells you what and how, who his Supreme Personality of Godhead is, Bhagavatam tells you the stories of people who have reached that point. Bhagavata Kadalu, Bhagavata stories. These are the people who have established a relationship with God because they understood, and we, when Prabhupada is giving us in form of purports, additional notes to the meanings, basically to tell us, you as a Vaishnava, you as a member of a society that wants to realize God, have to read through these stories and follow their principles to become a Vaishnava like Nabi. A Vaishnava like one of the Brahmins. Only you can attain the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. God is not that cheap. Whenever you want, wherever you want it for us to be available. For him to be available, we have to transform ourselves, and not just understanding God, but understanding methods of transforming ourselves and making that. That's the difference between jnana and vijnana. What do you call it? Knowledge and wisdom. Understanding this, any Veda, reading any Veda can give you the knowledge, but only a practicing environment, a satsangatyam only can make you a Vaishnava. That's the reason why so much of emphasis on why in ISKCON to get to that association, that sangatyam, eating only prasadam. It's what the Lord is telling to the people, right? You are my mouth. Brahmanas, you are my mouth. Vaishnavas, you are my mouth. So we can't eat whatever we like. We have to eat what God likes, because Vaishnavas are God's mouth. You can't feed God whatever you like, whatever your three modes of material nature are saying, whatever your three modes of material nature are demanding. You have to feed him only what he likes. That's the reason why we have to take the blessing of Tulsi Mataji to make anything that we made as a something that God likes. Right? That's the emphasis on prasadam basically, and the chanting. And if you anytime if you talk to Yuval Krishna Prabhu, he doesn't speak. None of his sentences get completion without referring to the word chant, because that's how you establish your relationship. It is and see, you have things to, what do you call it, satisfy your senses, purify your senses, purify your mind, purify your intelligence, purify your ego. But the only thing that can help purify your soul is chant. The only thing that can take away the dust around the soul, Cheto Darpan, is Harinama Sanket. Right? So that's the reason why there's so much emphasis on association, reading to the Shastra, chanting. Right? And that's the stories we see in this chapter. And from eighth shloka onwards, we'll see how Rishabhadeva became an ideal grahastha, and then we'll see his disciplic succession, and where Bharata becomes the king of Bharatavarsha. So, Hare Krishna Prabhuji Mataji, with this, I'm actually ending the class. So I know we only went through like 10 shlokas, but hope I was able to do some justice to the shlokas. If I said something wrong, it's purely because of my ignorance, because of my intelligence being influenced by one of the three modes of material nature. Please bless me as Vaishnavas that one day I will attain a point of thought beyond the three modes of material nature. Hare Krishna. If there are any questions, we'll take. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Subbarao Prabhuji. Nicely discussed. Thank you so much. No questions? Happy.
Any comments, Puneet Prabhu?
Hare Krishna.
Srinivas Prabhu.
This Rishabdev Prabhu is same as Jains. Is it cause of that, Prabhu?
So, Rishabhadeva philosophy has been the source of Jain philosophy, original Jain philosophy. So, Mahavir Jain is different from the Jain that we see today, is more of Mahavir Jain and all that, Prabhu. To my, Giriraj Prabhu might correct me if I'm wrong, the Rishabhadeva philosophy is the original source for Jain philosophy.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Anybody? Any other questions, comments?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice session.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
Thank
Krishna
you very much.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. I didn't say.
Dandavat Pranam. Very nice session. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Subbarao Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful class. Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
So I was trying to keep the tempo you did the class last week, Prabhu. Hope I did some justice to it.
Hare Hari Bol. You are an expert. Hari Bol.
Class was very nice.
Amma, Padma Mataji saying something.
Very nice. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you. Mataji. Hare Krishna. Ma, Shilpa Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Ma, sir. Game lab to close చేసేద్దామా?
Yeah, we'll close first. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji.
అనంత కోటి వైష్ణవులకి జై. హరే కృష్ణ. హరే కృష్ణ.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
హరే కృష్ణ.